Hello viewers, supergt here. I'm back with another edition of Shameful Rammers in Gran Turismo 7. It's been quite a while since the last edition of this type of content because the rammers have been a little bit avoidant recently. We haven't had too much of an issue with that kind of thing. But here we find ourselves at Interlagos for Daily Race A this week. Group 3 cars around Interlagos. You normally think this would be a clean race. Unless this guy comes along, Tony Building 87, our worst enemy, as you're about to find out. Heading down towards turn 4. I thought it was clear air, but clearly not. And as we get bundled wide, he goes through, and it's all okay because he puts his hazard lights on. And obviously, as a result of that, getting a 1 second penalty. So ignoring the track limit because I got smashed wide is clearly a major offence in the world of Gran Turismo. We fast forward this one to the end of the first lap. Now, I still have this 1 second penalty to serve. I've got the entire pack swarming all over me. Tony there serving a 3 second penalty. So he had a further 2 seconds added on after the incident. And I find myself losing position after position. You might see there actually a McLaren and our friend Tony having further incidents on the main straight. I find myself now in 7th. The radar got very busy there. You might have just spotted. And I'm hoping that lap 2 will be at least marginally better than lap 1, which was quite clearly a disaster. As we head down towards turn 4 once again, this seems to be the hot point of this race. As we head in here, our good friend from behind, once again, he's just going to bundle us wide. And there he is, just driving through as if nothing's happened. And I'm down to 10th place. This is shocking. What's more shocking is getting another penalty for getting hit wide. Now look at this almighty gaggle in front. You might spot a McLaren peeling away to punt off our good friend into the Shadow Realm. That's exactly what happened. So we're going to gain a few more positions there. This was a truly chaotic race. Something that we've seen many times over the years, but as I say at the beginning, not seen it for a while. We've had quite good races recently, I must be honest. But this was definitely an objection to the rule. So coming through into the final corner, we definitely have a chance here of second place. But we do have to serve this penalty, which is going to lose us this position. So we're going to drop from 6th, temporarily down to 7th. Back to 6th again. It's meant to be, guys. 6th place. I am just magnetically drawn to it. As we head then down into turn 4, lap 3, look at this group in front. I mean, there's positions to be gained here for sure. Now, the ramming on the opening lap was quite clearly crime against humanity. Crime against motorsport, quite frankly. But once this race settled down, it was actually pretty good. So quite a few different cars being used here. Interestingly, the guy in second using the BMW Z4. Always a brave decision to do such a thing. But I respect it. So we're going to try and aim for second place here. I think it's very much possible. In a 6-lap race, quite long for a Daily Race A, I suppose. But good to see a slightly longer race. Albeit Group 3 at Interlagos for the 5 billionth time. Anyway, down in towards turn 4, lap 4. Can we engineer a move on the exit here? It looks like we can. Peugeot getting a little bit wide on the exit, not getting the best run. And we're just going to slot in front. Up behind now the Z4, who is just beginning to drop away. Z4 has never been one of the better cars in this class. Looking to the outside now. Going a little bit wide here. A bit wider than I'd like, so we're not going to get a move done here. You have to wait for the time being. So it's really interesting how... well, actually how this guy goes onto the grass. That's quite interesting, I suppose. But it's interesting how this race has actually very much calmed down once the main culprit has been dispatched very kindly by the McLaren driver. So if you are the McLaren driver, please do forward me your bank details and I will promptly pay you for the good deed you've done on this fine day. Anyway, does he defend? No, doesn't defend on this occasion. We're going to see that this run towards turn 1 is actually quite important during the course of this race. As we get the move done. Back in a second. That's about as good as I could have hoped for. And that proved to be the case. With the leader 6 seconds to the goods, I then came home to finish in second place. Alright, not quite the win, but I mean, I don't know what that guy in the Mercedes was doing. So heading down to turn 4, I thought, you know what, I'm in clear air here. I'm quite a long way ahead. Clearly not. He didn't think to let up and let me go back past. Just put his hazards on. Put your hazards on. That makes everything fine. But he definitely hit me for the second time here. Yeah, the move's just never on. So that was a bit annoying. What on earth went on there? Let's have a look. So he pushes him out of the way. Puts up the inside. And then I think a McLaren comes out of nowhere. As indeed it does. So he serves a 5-second penalty here. And he goes right the way down the order. I'm pretty sure this guy came back to like 7th or something. So I want to see how he did that. Okay, well there's one guy who's spun out. Then a penalty for that guy. Then he got his own penalty. And then into turn 1. I think he can do a good move into here. Seemingly. But then he doesn't really have much awareness of what's around him. There was a car off there and he overtook here. That was actually a decent move. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. He can race, but just not all the time. So as he serves the penalty, goes back behind this guy. Next race. And in the next race, I decided to pick the Nissan GTR, car that I'm fairly familiar with. Not sure if it's the best one for this race, but anyway, my main objective really is to avoid the crimes against humanity that were committed in the previous race, namely getting punted here at turn 4. Thankfully, I did manage to avoid that because the top 3 here, we'd all managed to kind of pull away from 4th place and below quite quickly. That's always a relief. On lap number 3, still in P3, but looking for P2, Roby there going to make a mistake, get a penalty, get a poor run off the centre S. This is going to be a slam dunk move. Up the inside, look for the 100 board, on the brakes. Now up behind the very fast player of Consta. I don't know how I'm roughly keeping pace with Consta. Must be driving with a Guitar Hero controller or something. So yeah, Consta is normally one of those players that I shouldn't really be keeping up with. And well, that kind of proved to be true here as I made a mistake onto the main straight, lap number 4. And it therefore turned this race into more of a defensive race. I took another very poor line through there. My consistency wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. And so this was going to be very much a defensive race, trying to keep second from the Italian in the Lamborghini as we head towards turn 1. Now obviously Interlagos, I think this is a track which has lots of overtaking opportunities. And so you're going to see there that I usher him to the right hand side, the outside. You'll see later on why that's such an important thing to do. As we come through the centre S, we're going to fight here side by side. I think we give each other enough space. A tiny bit of contact there, perhaps, but I think it was good racing. With a very close, tense finish to the line, I am just about going to keep second place. Whew, good battle, good battle. Keeping second place, nice. And for the next one, I decided to jump into the Lexus RC F. Now this is a car that I think is somewhat slept on. It is a solid car all round, I think, in Group 3. Now, of course, we've had a few physics changes, so that might be different, but through turn 1, I kind of got rudely bundled wide, I think we could say, by the Czech driver there, who I then firmly re-overtook just a few corners later, just shoved up the inside. I wasn't going to wait around. So I retook the place and found myself looking towards the podium. Now, I just want to say quickly, the driver in the lead, the flag, I got it majorly wrong in the previous video, where I was saying he's from Bahrain when actually he's from Qatar. So yeah, just wanted to correct that from the previous video. Obviously, Bahrain is more of a red flag, Qatar is more the burgundy colour. So this guy is from Qatar, the guy in second. Anyway, I found myself here spinning out on the curb, thinking about the rage quit for 0.5 seconds there. Now this was a really unfortunate moment, but it did bring about some of my nicest overtakes, as I had to come back through the field. Now this shows you why it's important to defend fully to the left hand side here on the main straight, because I kind of dummy to the right, pretend I'm going to go back to the normal racing line, and then late on switch back to the left just as they open up that gap. And it's quite a surefire way to get the overtake done, and it almost always works. I mean, I tried it again here, and again, you usher them to the left, go to the right, and then at the last moment, switch back over to the left-hand side. Job done. Nice overtake. Back into 5th place by the end of the race. All right, P5. I mean, probably should have been at least P4, maybe a 3. Anyway, next up, the infamous Lamborghini Huracan, a car I notoriously have always had trouble with, but is a fast car if you can drive it correctly, which I historically haven't done. But anyway, we're going to try and go for this overtake. Once again, proving that the old switcheroo on the straight is the way to go. Look, it just keeps happening. But I did actually get a little bit ahead of myself and a bit arrogant with what I was saying on the chat. That's why you got to fully defend until they're alongside the other side, as I have proved multiple times. Racing drivers hate him. Watch how he keeps bamboozling drivers with this one simple trick. So yeah, there's me getting a little bit ahead of myself and speaking a bit too positively before spitting out the car. And I would say that since update 1.52, as I unceremoniously get bundled wide here, I must say that the cars are definitely a bit more sensitive on downshift, so do be careful on the brakes and downshifting. We finished that race in 10th. But now let's take a look at my fastest qualifying lap into turn 1, braking pretty much on the 50 board, getting a nice apex here. Before getting on the power, really abusing that curve on the right hand side, you can really carry a lot of speed through the center S before getting that run down the back straight. So the Ghost is the 31.099. I'm looking to try to get well within on the 130s. Braking on the 100 board, off the brake. Let the car roll, back on the power as early as you dare. Obviously we've seen what can happen if you run your outside tyres onto the outside edge of that curb. You can easily spin out, so do be careful of that. Through turn 5 and 6. Coming back for that late apex. Powering out to the outside before braking into turn 7, dropping down into 8. Be careful with the downshift there. Back on the power as early as you dare. Run the full extent of the curb. Out to the outside. Off the brake to let the car roll through this one. Coming out in 2nd gear. Then dropping down through the long 11. You're going to have to slightly lift through there to get it to go all the way around. Then the final corner, really crucial of course, because it leads out onto the straight. And you're going to be full power here for about 15-20 seconds. It was a good exit compared to the Ghost. I'm about half a second up. There's going to be a 130.5, which for me was actually a satisfying lap. I was hoping just to dip below 31, but to get a 30.5 on pretty much the second lap there was pretty good. And you can see by my reaction here, I was quite pleased to be, at the time, 20th in the world. We then jump into race number 3, 4, I can't even remember now. Race number 4, I think it is. On pole position. Now this one I'm not going to cover too much because it doesn't need much covering, but just take a look at the radar here. As you're going to see, some shameful ramming. The guy in 3rd, well, I mean, unceremoniously is a word I'm going to use quite a lot in this video because that is what happens a lot. It was a rather dark day for that guy in 2nd place, who's now in the Shadow Realm. But ultimately this turned out to be an easy win because of that moment. I was already 1.8 seconds to the good by turn 4, too far to get punted. On this occasion you can see there people going wide. I don't know what's going on back there, but with a easy 3-second margin already, it was going to be quite an easy and convincing win. In fact, 9.7 seconds by the time I finished, as you can see here. So quite a big gap. And what I must say, as we look at the replay, is that this is pure filth. Take a look at this. This is a replay of the race start we just saw. There's just no need for it. But clearly in this guy's mind, there is a need for it. Explain that one in the comments, guys. I mean, I don't know what's going on. 5-second penalty, which is quite fair. He actually bundles that guy wide. And the guy we're on board with now is actually the teammate of the guy he bundled off earlier. And he's having no part of this. Apart from, well, absolutely murdering him and sending him into the Shadow Realm. Look at that. So that's about as wide as anyone's ever gone on that corner. Maybe apart from Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in 2021. But the final race here, I mean, this was a blinder. Our Italian friend was worryingly right behind me on the grid. And so you see here, I was going to play a slightly different game. I was very wary of his advances. And I was very clear that I didn't want to get him... I didn't want to allow him to have a big gap on me to then punt me off into the corner. So I thought, okay, you can go alongside me. Alongside is safe. In my ramming experience, if someone's next to you, you're kind of controlling the situation. As he actually switcheroos me here. So this is one of those curious cases, I think, of a rammer being a rammer, but also being quite quick. So it's one of those difficult scenarios to be in. We've seen it before with the likes of Momos. I would say that Momos historically has been a fast driver, but also a bit erratic, to say the least. So side by side still, as we head down through turn 11 in towards turn 12. Is he going to go for the move here? He kind of shows up the inside, to be fair to him. Quite an aggressive overtake, but to be fair to him, it was clean. So it's one of those enigmas of these guys as we make contact door to door up the hill. So I'm behind once again. We've actually got an Italian just behind as well. We're going to try and get this overtake. He's actually good at defending. He's actually taken my advice of moving fully to the left-hand side and not relinquishing the position. So I'm not able to get the position here. Now, unfortunately, we make a bit of contact with this guy behind. It looks really bad on me there. It looks like I've punted him to the left, but it was just a loss of control. And, well, I'm not sure he'll see it the same way, but we continue. Leonardo there going a little bit wide in his Lambo. The Lamborghini seemingly the popular choice for this race. Now, I put in a faster lap there, 31.5 on lap number 3, onto lap 4. I did have to reel this guy in. It took me 2 laps or so. He was, as I say, quite quick. And so it's one of those problematic scenarios where you're having to race quickly and try to do it fairly, but they're not always on the same page as you. So down the hill into turn 4. It's very much a 2-horse race now. 9.2 seconds to third place, so we're not really going to be worried about that. This is very much a 1v1 battle for the race win. Through turn 5, turn 6. Getting closer and closer and closer. I should hopefully here have 2 laps to try to engineer a move. And then, quite crucially, with a driver like this, make sure that we don't get punted. Because just getting past, well, I mean, that's one thing to do, but then not getting kills for the remainder of the race is your secondary objective. So dropping through 11 once again towards the final corner. Crucial corner this, as it's my first time, or first chance to overtake since lap 1, really. So this is an ideal position to be in. Right in the slipstream. He's actually gone very wide there. Interesting line. Is he going to leave the space? No. I bail out the slipstream for the time being. Trying to just engineer that gap. Is it going to arise? No. I'm just going to keep him left as long as possible. He does actually move left again quite late. Looking around the outside, I was very scared to go around the outside here because I just thought he's going to run me wide. So I thought, you know, let's play this patient. I'm not going to do something that could end my race. I'm just going to rather stay in the race as long as possible. But it's very much hotting up now, down the hill. Is he going to relinquish this inside? He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Doesn't quite do it. Can we go for the switch back here? He actually has a nice line and gets on the power quite well. So not quite possible there. Oh, we're getting close. I mean, I sense that this move is not far away. We're going to pin him really narrow, really just trying to get him off that racing line to try to give him some problems and to try to put him off of his braking points. But to be fair to him, he's keeping it in check so far. As we head through the infield, lap number 5. Only one more to go after this, so we're running out of time if we want to get this job done and get this race victory. I think I've made this harder than it probably ought to be by overthinking it at the start of the race. But you never know. If he had punted me wide like he did to the previous guy in the previous race, then my race would have been over. So you could actually argue this was a smart decision. Who knows? So through the final corner, lap number 5, I've got the lead. He's made a mistake. He's gone too wide. And could that be a ploy? Could he be trying to size me up here into turn 1? I'm going to move fully to the left-hand side. Make sure that he is on the right-hand side. He's not going to be able to push me off. He's trying to turn into me. He's trying to turn left, even though I'm just fairly in the middle of the track. Trying to turn, so not much spatial awareness, so I'm very much aware of that. This guy is willing to quite strongly door bang into the corners, and once again here we're gonna have to go fully defensive. I'm hoping he moves over to the right hand side, and is he gonna do it? He does very late. Have to go in here quite narrow, park it on the apex, and come off really narrow here. So here we go, give him the space. He's not having any of it, forcing me wide onto the AstroTurf and the curb. Up the hill, he's on the outside. Thankfully, I think I've done just enough. He's going to still turn in, though, as if I'm just not in existence at all. And then here, well, I saw it coming. He went up the inside with the big dive bomb, turned away from it. So I know that this guy is not willing to play fairly. He's just going to dive bomb me at any occasion. And that's going to happen here. Into the next corner, go really narrow. And he's having none of it. Goes across the grass to get the overtake done. And, well, I'm not going to accept that. Coming through the final corner, or into the final corner, he is going onto the grass. There's no debate about it. He is going to meet Barrier over there. Brazilian Barrier has been firmly met. And I retake the lead. Yes, I do get a 3-second penalty, but I think I put him far enough into the wall that it's not going to matter. And ultimately, it didn't. I got the race win. I did what I needed to do. That's how you do it, guys. I'm many years experienced in this business of messing with shameful rammers. We always come out on top in the end.